The closer we get to the Suicide Squad game, the more I think about how far the Arkham universe and franchise have fallen since Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. There's a certain point in the last 15 years where you can point at a very specific moment in time where the Arkham universe was going up and eventually started having a downward trend, going from small moments that really made the player question what they were doing to Harley sexually harassing Deadshot. Kind of ironic coming from a studio that let things like this go unpunished for years now, but that's none of my business. And all of this started with Paul Dini's departure. Paul Dini is without a doubt one of the best Batman writers in all of history. He just gets the character so well, and there's nowhere that demonstrates that better than Batman the Animated Series. Even if you haven't seen the show, which what are you doing? You should be watching the show ASAP. You've seen at least a clip or a gif or a moment from the show. While being a kids TV show in many regards, it managed to tackle a multitude of mature topics and subject matter that probably wouldn't be possible today. It brought Batman to a whole new generation of kids and ushered in the golden age of DC TV animation. Even to this day, the show is unmatched in its presentation and writing, and a lot of that has to do with Paul Dini himself. So, when he was brought on to help craft Arkham Asylum's story, hardcore fans were obviously pumped. Bringing back not only Dini as a writer, but Arlene as Harley, Kevin as Batman, and Hamill as Joker as well. It's basically a match made in heaven, and the last hurdle now would be the game's development for Arkham Asylum, and clearly, Rocksteady struck lightning in a bottle with this game. Almost everything about Arkham Asylum for its time was the perfect superhero game. Great combat and stealth, an incredibly immersive Arkham Asylum, and a cherry on top, an almost masterful story with top-notch performances. Paul Dini, just like his work in animation, has helped usher in a golden age of DC games. I'm sure Dini had many ideas for a sequel, and that was confirmed when Arkham City, which was already in development during Arkham Asylum, released in 2011, just 2 years after Asylum. So when the game came out and struck lightning in a bottle for a second time, it came to many gamers' surprise how consistent it all was. The story flowed well, and introduced future villains for the conclusion, and it felt like a proper sequel to Arkham Asylum, with the gameplay and traversal being even better than the actual first game. Rocksteady and Dini did it again, so why not finish the trilogy together? And honestly, this is where the downhill begins. And I'm not going to mention Arkham Origins either, because this is more of a Rocksteady story. If you want a quick side note, it's clear that Dini didn't work on this game. It has a similar vibe, and thanks to the actual cutscenes and acting, fits the bill of an Arkham game. But again, this is a video about Rocksteady and not really WB Montreal, so I don't have much to say about that. It's just obviously Dini wasn't involved. But here we go. Arkham Knight. I will admit I do have a soft spot for this game, but the story is 100% like a downgrade from the first two. And a big reason for that is because Dini wasn't there to finish what he started. For some unknown reason, Dini didn't return. Maybe Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker didn't want him to, or maybe he just didn't want to come back. But whatever the undisclosed reason is, he's not there anymore. To me, this whole situation feels like a very less dramatic version of what happened to Snyder, leaving due to personal reasons, and Whedon coming in to finish his Justice League. Sure, he probably knew exactly what happened in those previous two movies that Snyder made, and even Wonder Woman, but Whedon wasn't going to follow it up the way that Snyder would. And obviously you could see the difference between the theatrical cut and the actual Snyder cut. So Dini came back and finished the story that he built up for this first game. I feel like, or even the first two games, I feel like it would have been 10 times better than what we got in Arkham Knight. And for starters, the writers of this game were Martin Lancaster, Sefton Hill, and Ian Bell. Sefton Hill being the only one that actually helped write a previous Arkham game, that being City. So now you have two writers, plus Jim Lee helping with Arkham Knight's Red Hood's origin, which also never got set up in any previous game, and the stuff that Paul Dini did set up for this future game gets completely swept under the rug, like Azrael and Hush being side missions that you can complete in 10 minutes combined. Not at all the threat that we thought they would be in, of course, Arkham City. Joker's death is basically done for the player for about 90% of the game, because he's with us for 90% of the game, and the cure that Batman drank at the end of Arkham City was basically useless. So there's so much wrong with Arkham Knight's story when viewed with the lens of it being a third game in a franchise and not just its own thing, like many people online want to attempt to defend it like. But honestly, Dini coming in and finishing the plot points that he had in mind for this game would have been 10 times better than Sefton Hill kind of imagining what Paul Dini might have done, or like the things that he wanted to do, and just kind of making it a little bit of a lesser version of what it actually should have been. As soon as the game opens too, you can tell it's a lot different than those first two games, and I think a lot of people can agree with me in that point. The game is all over the place compared to Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, that while being simple in their scripts, delivered a Batman that was being pushed in every direction by his rogues, while in Arkham Knight, deliberately, they allow you to ignore all of those rogues and basically just try to do it when you want the Nightfall Protocol, which you could just look up online. So there's no incentive to really fight the rogues in this game or do anything to be pushed and pulled in every certain direction. Point being, the quality just wasn't there. It was clearly lacking just from a story standpoint. There were things missing, things changed and outright ignored in favor of telling Arkham Knight's story, and the sad truth is, it's now bleeding into Suicide Squad. Can you guess how many writers are on this game? Because there's a lot. For the first time, Sefton Hill is not on the credits for the writing, which is kind of weird. And from what we know, Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, who are former founders, they're not there anymore. They left. They're founders of 100 Star Games now, so they're probably not going to help with the DLC either. The credit goes to Ali Buston, Kim Beller, I'm going to butcher all these names anyway, Amy Shaw, Kate Watson, and Ben Schauder, who wrote the Horizon games, and Charles Webb, who wrote Mafia 3. So that's six. That's 6 writers right there. That might sound promising with those games that they were working on, until you realize that they're also collaborating with Sweet Baby Inc. as well, who do not have a good reputation at all at this moment. One reason being their work on Spider-Man 2 and some of the questionable things within that game. So for Suicide Squad, they're working on audio logs and banter within the gameplay and so much more. And the problem here that I have is that now you have writers of the game who have almost zero experience with the Arkham games and are basically writing these games off secondhand knowledge of the lore, causing moments like Poison Ivy being back as a child or Batman just spontaneously coming back with little to no explanation, not to mention colliding ideas and concepts. Having this many writers plus a third party writing segments of the game is already clearly showing. The writing here is worse than Arkham Knight. Despite having a very simple plot for Suicide Squad, now they're introducing the multiverse and having these characters like Arkham Batman kill millions of civilians, so it's very bizarre. For this game to be set in the Arkham universe, it really doesn't feel like it is. It honestly feels like more of a slap in the face to the people that were fans of this franchise, because it is. Everything shown for the Suicide Squad really boils down to it being so far off the vibes Rocksteady had gave us for 3 games straight, taking all of that and throwing it out the window. I do believe that this game would have been better off as like an original IP or even an original universe so they can have the grounds to do whatever they wanted. Hell, if they wanted to, they could have even had Arkham Batman showing up, and that could have been a nice little cameo, an Elseworld cameo, instead of him being a main antagonist you have to kill. While we always will have the Arkham universe and Arkham games to go back to and enjoy, the future of the franchise seems to be a very bleak and a very shallow one, made by people who couldn't care less about preserving the lore, but more about what holds the attention of the audience for the longest period of time to siphon money out of the pockets of the consumers as much as possible, kind of cementing the downfall of Arkham. Well, thank you guys for watching. I know this wasn't like my regular video, but it still was very fun to make, and I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy, go ahead and subscribe if you're new, and also like the video as well. That'd be greatly appreciated. We get 400 likes, and if you guys like this video as well, maybe I'll make more of like this. It was just really fun. I scripted it in like one day and decided to do it, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much.